you for these two passionate ladies here, Sumaya and Amna. You inspire every one of us, and especially Amna, thank you for narrating your um, ordeal and the narrative from Karnataka. I am a seasoned IT professional, a fledgling tech entrepreneur, and amateur activist, and a vocal critic of Islamophobia and persecution of minorities, especially in India, as also anywhere else in the world. But most importantly and identifiably, I am an Indian American Muslim woman. I wear my faith on my head, literally. I don't blend in, I stand out. I am a hijabi. I am I was 26 when I first started wearing my hijab after learning why it is to be worn and why it is important in our religion. And I continued to wear it as I moved to the United States. It has been such an integral part, instinctive part of my everyday life that I never had to give it a thought until, of course, last 2 weeks, when the right-wing BJP government manufactured yet another opportunity to intimidate, humiliate, dehumanize Indian Muslims and Indian Muslim women specifically. Since I first saw the traumatizing visuals from India of girls in hijab being turned away if they don't take off their headscarves, of one young girl, Muskan, being chased by a hungry crowd of 40, 50 saffron-clad goons, teachers taking off their burqas and hijabs outside the school gate, just to keep just to be able to keep their jobs, I find myself thinking, talking, analyzing, explaining, defending hijab all the time. First off, I would like to get the most basic argument made by the Karnataka government out of the way. This hijab ban has nothing to do with bringing uniformity to schools or colleges. This new rule has absolutely nothing to do with enforcing school rules. The girls have always been wearing hijabs in their very same schools and colleges. This overnight enthusiasm to create and impose some sort of new quote unquote uniform rules is politically motivated. The hijab ban is the latest in the series of discriminatory laws created by the Indian state that is increasingly seeking to marginalize Muslims and Muslim women in particular, exposing them to intolerable violence. This hijab ban is unconstitutional, as every Indian right citizen to practice their faith is constitutionally guaranteed and protected. This move by the BJP government in Karnataka is obviously a part of the larger goal of the genocide of Indian Muslims set by the Islamophobic, autocratic Modi regime. The BJP government has already adopted a series of laws and policies that systematically discriminate against the Muslims and other vulnerable communities in the country, such as the citizenship law or revoking of the constitutional autonomy in Muslim majority state, Jammu and Kashmir. Let's talk about the beef ban or the laws against the cow slaughter or the love jihad law, and many others. These laws are accompanied by street violence, by vigilante mobs that lynch working class Muslims and at will. Personally, this new year started for me with finding myself listed for an auction on an Indian app called Bully Buy that was offering Indian Muslim women for sale. The humiliation, the degradation is only escalating in its intensity and monstrosity. Now, I would like to address the other aspect of hijab discussion that invariably props up. Whenever I say that I wear the hijab, this piece of garment, which I consider sacred, entirely out of my choice. I'm often told that this is our conditioning, our indoctrination into an oppressive system that makes us choose a hijab or a burqa or a veil, for that matter, the niqab. That if we were not forced to do it by our communities or our families, and especially with me, my husband, we would have made different choices. I'm often told that my husband forces me to wear a hijab. I chuckle at that, but that we are under the influence of our families is what we are often told. And that is simply and that it simply cannot be a women's independent choice, even as hundreds of women take to the streets in India and world over, screaming that hijab is our choice. This kind of gaslighting is as baffling as it is infuriating. How dare anyone deny our agency and question our ability to make decisions for ourselves? I have sisters, cousins who don't wear the hijab. I have younger friends that cover up more sincerely than I do. I know what I'm doing, and I wish to answer to no one except my God, that is Allah, who alone guides me. To erase my identity to solemn belief in order to liberate me is preposterous. If we take a peek into history, it was under the colonial rule that a movement began to ensure that Muslim women to look and dress like the European women. Socialist killer of Drew University explains that as demands of independence from colonial rule grew, the headscarf or head coverings became the symbol of identity and of opposition to the West for the women. For Muslim women today, wearing a hijab can be a religious act, a way of demonstrating our submission to God, as instructed by our holy book, the Quran, which advises both men and women to dress modestly. But Muslim women's clothing isn't always entirely about adherence to faith. We have used our choice of clothing in the past and present and as an assertion of our identity, our individuality. Hence, stripping our community of its very identity is just not alarming, but also genocidal. The refusal of certain so-called liberal and neutral intellectuals, as well as members of the press, to see the context in which this ban has been brought out reveals that this own bigotry and internalized Islamophobia. We can all see what followed the hijab ban. Students are being forced to choose between their right to practice their religion and their right to education. Even teachers had to quit their jobs or succumb to this disciplinary new rule. Hindutva mobs have found yet another excuse to harass Muslim girls and women. A BJP leader tweeted and the personal details, including the phone numbers and addresses of the 6 minor girl students who were at the forefront of anti-hijab ban protests. In Shimoga, a small town in Karnataka, the houses and shops of working-class Muslims have been burnt in response to the protests. The poison has already spread to UP, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, even the national capital, New Delhi. Hindu extremists in UP tried to enter the Taj Mahal to recite Hindu prayers inside the monument. Elsewhere in UP, Hindutva mobs burned burqa openly amidst chanting Jai Shri Ram. A woman in New Delhi wasn't allowed to enter a bank unless she took off her hijab. So, can we please drop the pretense that it is anything to do with the uniform dress code? As I end my briefing, I urge any one of you hearing this today, please stand with my sisters in India. Please speak out because it's already too late. Thank you.